Destiny shattered without warning. A mysterious shroud engulfed the planet, extinguishing all light and energy forever. 5 hellish years have passed. Humanity cowers in the depths of the earth, hiding from the monstrous enhanced predators. Our hero, Day, lives in these shadows with his mother. But their fragile sanctuary is about to be breached. The enhanced have found them. A brutal ambush turns their hideout into a blood-soaked nightmare of screams. A desperate survivor strikes with a hammer, but human strength is a joke against these mutated, inhuman killing machines. With a sickening crack, the resistance is crushed. Death looms over the survivors. Hope is a luxury they cannot afford. Suddenly, the ceiling ruptures. Massive, 𝒖𝒕𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏 monsters descend from above like gods of destruction upon the weak. The crowd trembles in pure terror. If fighting one was a nightmare, facing an army is a certain death sentence. Surrender or perish. The lead mutant's chilling ultimatum echoes through the cold, lightless tunnels of their home. They crawl out, broken and defeated. But Day's mother makes a desperate choice, hiding him deep within a narrow wall. The survivors are herded like cattle. Suddenly, the mutants fall silent, bowing to the arrival of their terrifying sovereign. Enter 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏, a cold-blooded commander clad in military black, with a gaze that freezes the very soul. Evolution or extinction. He offers a cursed pill, promising power to those who survive the change. Some refuse the poison. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏's answer is swift and brutal, painting the ground with the blood of dissenters. Drink or be impaled. In this new world, choice is an illusion created by those who hold the blade. Forced into a deadly gamble, they swallow the pills. But the human vessel has its limits. The experiment begins to fail. Agony erupts in the room. The side effects are catastrophic. One by one, their bodies collapse into lifeless husks. From his crevice, Day watches in horror. His mother falls before his eyes, her life extinguished while he remains powerless. Grief turns into a white-hot rage. Spotting a discarded pill, Day swallows it, a final, desperate vow for vengeance. A red-haired mutant senses his presence. But as he strikes, Day isn't human anymore. He rips the monster's arm clean off. A scream of agony fills the air. The predator has become the prey as Day's dormant power finally awakens. The beast regenerates a serrated blade. "I am the pinnacle of evolution," he roars, lunging with murderous intent. Steel pierces Day's flesh. But the boy doesn't flinch. He severs the monster's weapon with a single strike. The tide has turned. Day crushes the beast into the dirt with cold, calculated, and unrelenting brutality. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏 watches, bored and indifferent. Day continues to vent his fury, obliterating the cooling corpse of his enemy. Red veins pulse across Day's arm. The corruption is spreading rapidly, marking him as something beyond mere humanity. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏 scoffs at the side effects. But Day only sees red. His thirst for the commander's blood is insatiable. The gap in power is immense. With a mere flick of a finger, Day is blasted through solid stone. Bones shatter, vision fades. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏 turns his back on the failure, leaving the boy for dead in the rubble. Day lies broken in a pool of blood. His heart slows to a crawl, until a mysterious figure approaches. A golden-haired girl finds him. She senses the spark of survival still burning within his shattered, dying frame. 10 years of silence pass. The world has descended into deeper chaos, and the boy has become a man. 2 orphans flee through the ruins. Their lungs burn with every desperate breath. The hunters are closing in fast. Just a little further. Safety lies beyond the city walls, but their strength is reaching its limit. The mutants corner them like prey. Escaped lab rats are meant for slaughter. Despair begins to take hold. Cruel laughter echoes through the alley. These monsters want to teach the runaways the true, agonizing meaning of pain. A mutant forces a pill into the boy's mouth. But then, a shadow falls over them. The air itself grows heavy. Crack! A devastating kick sends the monster flying. A legendary figure has entered the fray. Who the hell are you? Before them stands Day, now the feared mafia hunter of the wasteland. The hunter's insignia glints in the light. "Leave now, and you might live." His voice is as cold as the grave. The level 2 mutants only laugh. A mere human dares to threaten us? They charge with murderous, savage intent. Projectiles fly like a storm of death. But Day moves like a ghost, dodging the assault with supernatural grace. He catches their weapon mid-air. With a flick of his wrist, he sends the lethal edge back to its master. The mutant barely survives the counter, but his eyes are wide with terror. The real monster has finally arrived. It lunged with godlike speed. Baldy barely evaded a fatal strike, but his nightmare was far from over. No time for cheers. A dark blur struck first, driving a knee straight into the thug's toothless jaw. The gang charged with clubs, but Day ducked the lethal swing with ease. Seizing the opening, he unleashed a devastating strike that shattered the goon's face. In an instant, every hunter chasing the siblings lay broken and defeated. Like discarded trash, they didn't move. Day approached the trembling kids, comforting them with a steady, reassuring voice. "Follow me to the dead zone," he urged. Safety lies across that bridge, guarded by the Civil Defense Force. Finally fed, the starving children devoured their bread like ravenous animals, tears of relief mixing with their first meal. Nearby, a weathered old man watched Day. "Is your body holding up?" he asked. It was the defense leader. He knew Day's life was flickering out. Guilt weighed on him for sending the boy into such a suicide mission. But in this wasteland, only Day had the strength. "Perhaps," the leader whispered. "This mission is actually your salvation." "A cure?" Day asked, stunned. Had they finally solved the drug's lethal side effects? The leader let out a sigh. Day was a rare case, but more importantly, they lacked the fire required to complete the experimental healing serum. The mission was simple: find a mysterious woman. His very survival depended on locating this legendary figure of light. She was a fire user, the ultimate remedy for Day's condition, and the final beacon of hope for humanity. With her power, they could purge the mutants once and for all. Failure was not an option for the king. Day had to succeed at any cost. As the troops prepared for departure, he stood in the stables, heart heavy. Where should he even begin? He had no leads, no names, only a desperate hope fading into the gray horizon. Suddenly, a small tug on his sleeve. The girl he saved whispered, "I've seen her, the Lady of Light." Her eyes trembled. "Yesterday, while we were fleeing through the ruins, we were nearly frozen to death by the cold." As consciousness slipped away, a woman appeared. She brought forth something glowing and warm that pushed back the dark. Exhaustion took them before they could see her face. The girl thought it was a beautiful hallucination before the end, but at dawn, the truth remained. She awoke to find the impossible remnants of a miracle left behind in the snow. Charred wood and rising smoke greeted her. The scent of that warmth still lingered, stirring Day's hope for life. Fire! The element that vanished 15 years ago during the Great Cataclysm. She was close. He could feel the heat. The mysterious savior was nearby. Wasting no time, Day set out, tracing the smoky trail on the children's clothes. Every second counted. His body groaned under the strain of mutation. The clock was ticking down to his collapse. He entered the territory of the Fire Harvesters, a fanatical cult that worshipped the lost element as a vengeful god. "If they catch me, I'm dead," he muttered. As if on cue, his luck ran out. Cold eyes spotted him. A harvester warrior gave chase, spear leveled and wearing a terrifying bone mask that resembled a horned demon. Day dove into a ruined house just in time. Outnumbered and weakened, taking them head-on was a death sentence. The drug's side effects tore through his muscles. If they surrounded him now, he'd be nothing more than prey. Holding his breath, he tried to slip away. But fate was cruel. The rotting floorboards groaned beneath his weight. Wood shattered. A nearby cultist froze, his eyes locking onto Day as he reached for a signaling brass horn. One blast of that horn and the entire cult would descend. Day's life flashed before his eyes in that silence. Before the sound could erupt, a shadow dropped. A thunderous knee strike silenced the guard and knocked him unconscious. Day stared, stunned. Who was this mysterious ally? Why risk everything to save a dying test subject like him? The hood fell back, revealing a cascade of golden hair. Then, it hit him, that scent. The unmistakable aroma of fire. This was her. The firewoman he had been hunting. The savior from the children's stories stood right there. "Tracking my scent all day, aren't you?" she asked. "You're looking for the woman of flames, I presume?" Day didn't hesitate. "Yes," he admitted, his gaze intense. "I need the one who can command the ancient fire," she smirked. "Then you're out of luck. I'm not her. I just smell like her because we traveled together." "Where is she?" Day demanded, desperation clawing at him. His internal clock was nearing zero. He was out of time. "Be quiet and follow," the blonde whispered. "I'll lead you to her, but the path ahead is paved with blood." They reached the edge of the cult's territory, an ancient, skeletal port, long abandoned by civilization and the living. "Only 3 guards remain here," she noted coldly. "Take them out if you want answers. Consider it a test." Day gritted his teeth. She was leading him into a hornet's nest, but for the cure, he'd face hell. If the fire gang brings 500 more goons, they will still get crushed. But mid-sentence, an ambush strikes. A strike from behind. Day evades as a heavy iron pipe impales the cargo crate. Behind the blonde girl, the fire gang assassins emerge. Two thugs block their path with murderous intent. One masked, one barefaced. Dae's fists are faster, delivering a barrage that sends the first thug reeling. The second goon brandishes a blade. Dae reacts instantly, meeting his face with a devastating high-speed kick. He crashes into the containers, out for the count. Dae remembers there were supposed to be 3 guards. 2 are down, but the third is missing. Where is the final sentinel hiding in this iron graveyard? Speak of the devil. The final guardian erupts from the darkness, launching a colossal fist at Dae's face. Dae is hurled back, denting the steel container. This isn't human, it is a mutated behemoth. The giant lifts a 1-ton crate easily. Realizing strength won't win, Dae shifts into high-speed evasion. He dodges lethal blows until he hits the edge. Behind him lies the dark, freezing abyss of the ocean. The Titan charges to crush him. Thinking fast, Dae grabs a mooring rope, preparing a desperate gambit. He slips past the monster, circling behind. Before the brute can react, Dae strikes his blind spot, but the punch barely tickles. Dae needs leverage. Using the rope, he weaves a snare for the giant. The giant topples, but his massive hands clamp onto Dae, dragging them both over the edge. Locked in a death grip, they plunge into the depths. Meanwhile, a knocked-out thug begins to wake. Seeing Dae submerged, the thug turns his malice toward the girl. But she remains eerily composed. Her icy stare unnerves him. "You are worrying about the wrong person," she says with a chilling smile. Suddenly, Dae bursts from the waves. The giant, however, is gone, swallowed by the dark tide. "That mutant experiment cannot swim," she explains. He is currently becoming a buffet for the fish. Infuriated, the thug assumes Dae is exhausted. He raises his spear, ready to end the warrior's journey. Dae does not even flinch. The thug thinks he has won a fatal mistake. As he lunges for the kill, a swift strike from the girl connects with his neck. The thug tastes the dirt, knocked out instantly. Never underestimate a woman in this apocalypse. But the battle has taken its toll on Dae's body. "Where is the firewoman?" Dae gasps. Every wasted second brings him closer to his own funeral. "Impressive," she says. "You passed the trial. Now we can infiltrate the fire temple to save my friend." Dae is stunned. "The temple? That place is crawling with the fire gang's elite hunters. You have no other choice," she retorts. "The person they took is the woman you are searching for. My captured friend is the Flame Maiden. If you want her power, follow me into hell." Forced by fate, our hero agrees. They descend into the shadows of the city's ancient sewer system. The tunnels lead to a ruined railway. Hidden within this labyrinth lies the forbidden fire temple. Born from a cataclysmic earthquake, the temple's structure is a deadly mystery, uncharted and dangerous. Only the refugees know these paths. Dae wonders, why would the cult kidnap the deity they worship? "I do not know why," the girl whispers, but she would die before revealing her identity to them. Even if she becomes a sacrifice, her silence is absolute. We must reach her before the ritual begins. Dae questions her loyalty. Why risk everything for a friend in this dog-eat-dog world of monsters? She saved me when no one would. In a world without mercy, she shared her last food. No fugitive shares their final meal, yet she gambled her life. She is the light in this apocalypse. "Years ago, I fell into a pit while fleeing. I screamed, but the world ignored me. I clawed at the walls until my fingers bled. People walked past, deaf to my suffering. With shattered nails, I made 2 vows. First, if anyone asks for help, I will never refuse. I will be the savior I never had. As for the second vow, it is for the dying." A chilling warning. As Dae climbs the jagged cliff, the rotted ladder beneath him suddenly shatters. Luck is on his side as he finds a ledge. The girl reaches out to pull him up. Dae refuses, choosing to climb solo. Does he doubt her, or is this just his stubborn pride? Cursed by experimental drugs, a single spike in heart rate will turn Dae into a living bomb. A lifelong loner, Dae freezes when a mysterious girl suddenly invades his personal space without warning. "What are you doing?" Dae recoils, suspecting a deadly trap is being laid by this stranger. She nonchalantly claims she's testing his blast radius. This girl is a walking disaster for his health. Her test is his death sentence. He must finish the mission and escape this lunatic immediately. In a world of cold steel, carrying a clunky, outdated hunting rifle seems like a suicide mission. "Why use a broken gun?" she mocks, unaware the weapon is Dae's only link to his past. 10 years ago, a mysterious doctor saved him, leaving this rifle as his only clue to survival. Haunted by shattered memories, Dae refuses to let go of the weapon, no matter how heavy it feels. Silence falls as they reach the fire temple, a place where heat and madness collide in the darkness. This is the point of no return. Somewhere inside, The legendary Fire Maiden is held in chains. You want me to solo that army? Day asks, eyeing the swarm of fanatical monsters at the gate. Fighting is suicide. One wrong move and they'll be torn apart by 1,000 mutated claws. Stealth is the only way. The cultists crave sacrifices and are always looking for fresh, human meat. Before Day can process the plan, a sudden shove sends him stumbling straight into the enemy's sights. Enjoy the meal, she chirps. That traitorous girl just used him as bait to save herself. Captured and bound, Day is dragged into the temple's heart by a horde of screaming, mad cultists. There, he finds Jumi, the very target he was sent to rescue, waiting in the shadow of the altar. Through Jumi, he learns the blonde traitor's name, Sungha. If Day survives, she'll pay for this. Cultists prod him toward a jagged cliff, where one slip means a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Below the precipice lies a graveyard of failures. The ritual gongs begin to echo through the halls. Jumi reaches for a ceremonial blade, deciding to offer her own life so Day might live longer. If I die first, maybe they'll let you go, she whispers, raising the steel with a smile. She doesn't hesitate to end it, but Day isn't about to let a girl die for his sake. He leaps to save her but trips over a rock and falls off the cliff instead. Plummeting toward the abyss, Day figures this is the end, his life ending in a pathetic, silent crash. But fate has other plans. Sungha suddenly swings in, snatching him from the jaws of death. She grabs Jumi too, performing a daring mid-air rescue that leaves the cultists howling in blind rage. They scramble up a high ledge, barely escaping the spear-wielding fanatics hot on their heels at last. The chase is on. Spears rain down like lethal hailstones as the trio sprints through stone tunnels. The exit is in sight. If they can reach the shoreline, they might actually survive this nightmare. Disaster strikes. A spear pins Sungha's hair to the wall, trapping her as enemies close in. Another spear flies toward her heart, but Day is faster, snatching the weapon out of the air. With a swift stroke, he shears her hair free. "Keep running," he shouts, pushing them forward. They slam the iron gates shut, locking the screaming cultists outside. Day hands his bow to Jumi. "Go to the boat, I'll hold them off and buy time." He expects a grateful goodbye, but Jumi's eyes turn cold. Her next move shatters his reality. She levels the bow at Day's head. "I'm not a victim," she sneers. "I'm a sacrifice hunter." The Fire Maiden was a lie, a lure she created to trap survivors and sell them off. Every rumor was a lie. If Day and Sungha hadn't appeared, she'd have been the sacrifice. Sungha was too careful to be caught, so Jumi waited for a fool like Day instead. Jumi had given up on escaping, choosing to survive as the cult's most efficient, cold-blooded slave trader. Her suicide attempt was pure theater. She was waiting for the perfect moment to strike them down. Day realizes he handed his own executioner the weapon. Kindness was his ultimate, fatal mistake today. Jumi's face twists into a mask of pure madness. The real monsters aren't the zombies outside. "Safe travels," I told Day. But a thunderous blast suddenly shattered the silence, scattering birds in a frantic panic. Even the fanatics battering the door froze in shock. None could fathom the source of that devastating, earth-shaking roar. Day stood paralyzed, eyes wide with horror at the nightmare unfolding. A single bullet had just pierced Jumi's chest. Blood stained her lips as the light faded. The truth was far more shocking than anyone could have ever anticipated. Sungha was the true master of flames all along. Using Day's own weapon, she dealt a lethal, decisive strike. The cultists breached the walls, flooding in like a tide of darkness. Our heroes raced toward the only possible exit, but massive, hammer-wielding behemoths blocked their path. Trapped on all sides, death seemed certain in this evolving apocalypse. Suicide squads descended from the cliffs like falling demons, determined to claim their lives at any cost or sacrifice. Cornered and desperate, Sungha whispered to Day that only one forbidden method remained to save them from this hell. Without hesitation, she pulled him close, her hands trembling as she pressed her lips firmly against his in desperation. Amidst the gore and chaos, a legendary awakening began. The enraged fanatics unleashed a lethal barrage of jagged spears. A blinding radiance suddenly erupted, consuming the battlefield. Smoke and dust choked the air, masking the divine transformation occurring. When the haze cleared, only a shredded jacket remained. The duo had vanished into thin air like vengeful ghosts. The cultists stood baffled until a massive shadow loomed over them. Something monstrous was hurtling through the darkened sky. A giant was tossed like a rag doll toward the crowd. Panic struck as the fanatics scrambled to survive the impact. Too late. The behemoth slammed into the cliffside with bone-shattering force, crushing those trapped beneath its massive weight. The one responsible for this carnage was Day. Empowered by the kiss, his strength had evolved to god-tier levels. now an unstoppable king of the apocalypse day, told Sunga to trust him and run without ever looking back. Sunga tied her hair back, resolve hardening in her eyes. She was ready to bet everything on his strength. The cultists swarmed the exit, desperate to capture the sacrifices for their twisted, ancient god of fire and blood. On one side stood fanatics, on the other, mutated giants with warhammers. The deadly trap was finally set. "Run!" Day roared. His body flickered, vanishing from sight as he breached the sound barrier in a single instant. Reappearing before the mob, a single devastating kick shattered the bridge, sending the fanatics screaming into the dark abyss. As they plummeted, Day utilized his SS rank blink ability. Sunga didn't falter, sprinting through the carnage with total faith. A giant's hammer descended like a mountain upon her, but Day materialized, intercepting the blow with his bare hands. He hurled the 1,000-pound weapon aside like a toy. Another beast reached for Sunga, its claws mere inches away. Day's fist connected with a sickening crunch, burying the monster's head into the dirt. His fury was now absolute. Snapping a hammer's handle, he launched it as a projectile, clearing a bloody path through the remaining monster horde. Light finally broke through the darkness as they neared the exit. But the cultists wouldn't let their prey escape. The heavy stone gates began to groan shut. Two fanatics strained with all their might to seal their fate, but the discarded axe head jammed the mechanism. Suddenly, an explosive force blew the gates off their rusted hinges. Day emerged from the smoke, shielding Sunga. They used a gate fragment to slide down the treacherous, jagged cliffs. A small boat awaited them in the churning waters below. They landed perfectly, narrowly escaping the jaws of death. Rowing frantically, they vanished into the mist. Sunga sighed in relief, explaining that the fire sect feared the sea. To those fanatics, the vast ocean was a cursed realm that extinguished their sacred flames and their divine power. They believed the sea held the ultimate weapon against fire. "We must stay alert," Sunga warned, sensing lingering danger. Day's body began to fail, the SS evolution taking a brutal toll. Agony surged through his veins like molten lead. He collapsed, urging Sunga to reach the defense outpost. Suddenly, an ominous whistle pierced the salty, night air. Sunga looked up in terror. A massive bolt, large enough to slay gods, was hurtling toward their fragile vessel. Everything happened in a blur. The projectile struck Day, dragging his limp body deep into the freezing, dark abyss. The great crossbow had found its mark. Diving without thought, Sunga fought the currents to pull him back up. They washed ashore, huddled by a flickering campfire on the jagged rocks. Footsteps approached from the deep shadows behind. Two figures emerged, drawn by the light. To their shock, it was Day's commander from the Civil Defense Unit. "Easy now," the commander urged, noticing Sunga's defensive stance. "I've come to bring my soldier back home safely. The shadows here hold many teeth. Trust me. I will escort you both back to the safety of our stronghold." Sungha drew her blade. "No more lies. This world's weapon isn't for you, I know." The leader's mask shattered. His true face emerged. "You're my ticket out," he screamed for revenge. He craved the top zone. Then a sudden ambush. A blade at her throat. "We are the law. In the dead zone, humans were just lab rats. You were just a tool," he mocked Day. The civil defense leader was a filthy traitor. "Follow me or die." He prepared to strike. Before the strike landed, Day finally snapped awake. He stopped them cold. The leader was terrified. "I trusted you," Day hissed. The leader lied. "She's tricking you." He hit a lethal dagger. "I raised you." But Day wasn't buying it. One brutal strike sent the leader to hell. The lackey followed. Day collapsed, his strength spent. Betrayal hurt more than any wound. All lies. Dawn broke. A broken gun sat before them. The shattered metal had saved his life once. His parents' legacy, a miracle in the apocalypse. He never let go, but he felt different. The side effects vanished. He felt strangely light. "Goodbye, Sungha." But she had other plans. "Be my bodyguard." She smiled. Day refused instantly. "Find someone else. I'm done with this." "You think it's that easy?" she asked softly. Suddenly, agony struck. Day fell to his knees. "I told you." The pain was absolutely paralyzing. Burnout shock. A rare, lethal mutation syndrome, but her scent neutralized the agonizing void. She was the flame keeping him alive. Literally. The pain vanished instantly. He felt incredible relief. This troublemaker was his only hope for survival. Her mother's power lived within her soul. Where is she? The answer changed everything. The top zone. Day froze. Are you insane? Enemies everywhere, and she wanted the top zone? She stepped away. The agony returned like lightning. "Fine. I'll go." Day screamed in total desperation. "Stop playing with me." Meanwhile, the base fell. The top zone's hounds arrived, hunting for her. A memory. A young girl hunted like prey. Monster's child. Hatred fueled their cruel pursuit. Bleeding and alone, she found the hidden door. Chaos erupts outside. Blood-curdling screams of children pierce the heavy silence. Driven by dread, Sunha cracks the door. A mysterious boy stands his ground. He's battered and bloody, but he fought them off. He protected her. A faint smile. Then he collapses. Sunha jolts awake. Was it just a dream? Finally awake? You've been out for ages. Since Mom vanished, sleep is a luxury. Anxiety is her only companion. You slept for half a day, Sunha. Half a day? You were snoring like a freight train, lady, believe it. I don't snore. Yet for the first time she felt truly safe. Pack up. We're heading to the Civil Defense headquarters immediately. They're hunting you. Why go back? Because those kids are still trapped there. You're half dead. Who'll help us? No one. We're on our own, Day. Wrong. I know a place. To the refugee base. Meanwhile, at the temple, assassins from the top zone clash with the fanatical fire god cult. Hand over the blonde girl. Never. She is a sacrifice for our god. Execute the blasphemers. Spears leveled, the mob charges with religious fury. The intruder doesn't flinch. With a predatory leap, he strikes from above. Steel flashes. Even the giants lose their heads. The leader trembles in fear. We are the Fire Union. The world's his head rolls before he finishes. The temple is now a graveyard. Amidst the carnage, they find Day's jacket. He inhales the scent deeply. Found it. The spark that starts the blaze. Elsewhere, Day is playing pack-mule. Is this refugee camp even real, lady? Keep complaining and I'll leave you. Wait. Don't be so cold-hearted, sister. Evil woman. Day muses. With her skills, she could thrive in the top zone. Why suffer in this hellhole? Sunha's eyes turn cold as she explains. In the dead zone, a gun is useless against those mutated monsters. To unleash true power, the weapon must touch her skin. A dangerous secret. One shot, and her identity is exposed. She becomes a walking target. You could lead the Fire Union. It's not that simple. Power breeds vipers. The moment I take the throne, they'll bury a knife in my back. Then stay with me. We'll hide together in this god-forsaken wasteland. It's a bad deal for me, but I'll be your shield forever. You just want my scent to survive. But you'll die before I do. Her scent suppresses the burnout shock, but it's not a permanent cure. It grants him fire, but it can't fix his broken, dying soul. Step 10 meters away, and Day's life force begins to wither away. I'm not saving you, Day, I'm just making your death a slow crawl. So I'm your dog forever? This apocalypse is a total scam, man. We must end the burnout shock. My mother knew the hidden secret. Through the biting blizzard, a massive cavern looms. The hidden sanctuary. The silence is heavy. Eyes peer from the shadows they're being watched. You sure this is safe? Day grips his weapon, sensing the hidden malice. Here, newcomers are either prey or spies. No one is ever safe. Find the elder. Gather the survivors. We strike the civil defense at dawn. Don't worry. Our scouts have already mapped out all their weaknesses. I was one of them. Will they really help a traitor like me? Trust me, she whispered. Yet here Day sits, bound to a wooden stake. Is this your trust? A stone cracks against his skull as the mob arrives. They demand blood, branding him a spy. Sunha rushes to shield his body. Listen to me, she screams. But the elders' hearts are hardened by loss. She claims he is a vital test subject, a key to their salvation. The guards murdered our children. The crowd roars for a bloody vengeance. Their grief is a bottomless pit. Finally, Day breaks his heavy silence. I thought it was a sanctuary. I didn't know they were so corrupt. Lies. A hammer swings. Sungha's scream is drowned by the mob's rage. The hammer stops. A little girl stands as a shield before Day. He is a good person, she cries, remembering how he saved her. The guards called him a clueless fool. The village chief finally steps forward. Day is released and invited into the chief's inner sanctum to talk. A base was turned to ash. The scout team found only total devastation. Who did this? The chief trembles, haunted by the horrific scene of ruins. The girl speaks. Hounds of the top zone, the monsters have arrived. They are the executioners of the new kings. Dread fills the cold room. They must reach the top zone. But first, Sungha seeks a forbidden relic. A map of the dead world. Only the warehouse keeper knows the path. He is a legend who walked from the top zone with massive supplies. He is a hermit. Nobody knows where his secret hoard is truly hidden. To get the map, Day must win over a man who hates everyone. The keeper is a mountain of rage, greeting them with a heavy hammer. "No defense dogs allowed," he bellows. The negotiation starts with a threat. His heart is shattered. A dead son and a wife lost in silence. His son died a monster, experimented on by the very men they hate. Hunted by mafia, he died in agony as the burnout syndrome hit. The keeper fled in terror, leaving his son's body to rot behind. He mapped a single, treacherous path to his son's final resting place. It is the only road to the death zone, paved with grief. His wife sits by an empty grave, her soul trapped in the past. Years of silence have passed. No words, no smiles, only cold despair. "Make her smile, and the map is yours," the keeper challenges them, a task deemed impossible. Day asks about the woman's mysterious habits. She only meets one person. A shadow lurking in a dark cave. A bandaged mummy awakens. Demonic eyes flare with a terrifying, unholy light. The wife talks to this monster. The villagers whisper in fearful disgust. They cannot cast the infection out. The keeper holds all their resources. "Call her crazy again and you'll starve," the keeper's voice thunders out. They flee in terror. What disease makes them tremble like dying leaves? It is the burnout syndrome, the same plague that is hunting Day. Is my condition really that terrifying? Day's heart sinks into his chest. A disease that burns your very soul until only a shell remains. Why such terror? It is a soul-devouring plague. That monster suffered from the same burnout syndrome you now carry. Is my infection truly that lethal? Your very organs are being incinerated by an uncontrollable internal wildfire. Relax, it's not contagious. But even those words couldn't ease the father's trembling heart. This rare shadow sickness turns skin to ash and rots the air. Most mistake it for a plague. The warehouse owners knew the truth all too well. They had already lost a son to it. They only met this man because he mirrored their lost child. But the stench, it was death itself. Even Sungha's healing was useless now. He was terminal. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped Jay's shoulder. A foul odor hit him first. Jay turned, startled by a living mummy looming in the dark. The bandaged stranger spoke. "You want to see her smile? I can help you with that. First, find her son. Before the war, he was a legendary chef at a world-class restaurant. For a mother who couldn't cook, her son's masterpieces were the only joy she ever knew. Good food is rare, but the real problem is the fire. Flame has vanished from this world. The art of the hearth is gone. Only one master remains who can still conjure the smoke. That legendary chef is hidden deep within the ruins of 𝒂𝒐𝒏. His name is Pepe. Without fire, Pepe creates miracles of flavor. Meanwhile, 3 scavengers huddle in the city ruins. Hiding in a wrecked restroom, they groan. Eating is just surviving since the fire died out. One bite of Pepe's cooking and I die happy. Should we just kidnap the old man? Are you insane? That's a death wish. Haven't you heard of the wars fought over him? Entire factions clashed just to claim his skills. Now, Pepe is either free or a corpse. He would rather die than be a puppet. To touch him is to provoke every apocalypse lord. There is only one way to taste his food. Pepe must choose to cook for you. As they speak, a noose descends silently. In a heartbeat, the first punk is snatched away. Is it just me, or did it get quiet in here? One comrade had completely vanished. Jay's group had their target. "I heard you're the best rat in town. Where is Pepe? You 3 want to kidnap Pepe? Don't make me laugh." The informant reached for his steel. "I didn't become the top info broker by being a weakling." He lunged with lethal intent. Jay didn't even flinch. One casual punch shattered the stone wall right behind the punk's head. The punk's face drained of color. "Boss, calm down. I'll talk. He's at the GKM base. GKM is holding him. I'll lead you there." But could they really trust this rat? They had no other choice. No photos, no clues, only this lead remained in the wasteland. They soon reached a dark tunnel. Beyond this abyss lay the heart of the GKM hive. Suddenly, the mummy turned around to find Jay and Sungha gone. He forgot to warn them. "Stay silent. They'll hear us." Shadows began to stir within the suffocating gloom. Armed figures lunged out, pinning the mummy. Jay recognized them instantly. The chemical soldiers. These are the elite cleaners of the Defense Corps. Ruthless, efficient, and utterly heartless. "Run, Sungha. I'll buy us time." But then, the soldiers bowed deeply to the mummy. It was a setup. The mummy was a Defense Corps spy. Their location was compromised. A spear lunged toward Sungha's throat. Jay caught the jagged blade with his bare hands. "Don't let them scratch you. Every weapon is coated in a lethal, flesh-rotting toxin." Sungha didn't hesitate. Together, they unleashed a storm of violence upon the elite squad. One soldier fell, but he pulled a pin. "Let's see if you can breathe through this." A massive explosion of toxic gas filled the chamber. Death was blooming in the air. Jay lunged, grabbing Sungha and diving into the freezing sea before the gas hit. They washed ashore minutes later. Jay was cold, forcing Sungha to perform desperate CPR. Jay opened his eyes to a kiss. Planning to save me then kill me, Sungha? She was trembling, tears streaming down her face. It's just the sea wind in my eyes. Jay smiled despite the pain. Don't forget, I'm a mutant. This poison can't stop me. My body is a ticking bomb. One wrong wake-up and I will literally explode. Stop those secret kisses. She realized my life is now in her hands. Can I kill you with a kiss? Stop joking. We must find the chef. To find him, we dive into the sewers, heading for his secret kitchen. The finest ingredients are hidden here, in the heart of this dead city. It is the safest vault left. Are you sure? Just trust my gut. Whenever she says trust me, I fear for my life. We start climbing. Higher and higher we go. My legs are screaming. Is there no end? No enemies in sight. Wait, you did not say it was the tallest skyscraper. This crumbling titan? No one dares enter, making it the perfect hideout. The penthouse restaurant remains untouched. If he is not here, we are finished. I am at my limit. Believe in me, she says. Can I really? We finally reach the summit, but then the entire floor begins to tremble. Is it collapsing? No. A presence. Someone else is stalking these dark halls. Hide for now, she cries. I will grab the gear. Go on ahead. We cannot drift apart. 10 meters is the limit of our survival bond. On the rooftop, a shadow looms, a reaper with a terrifying, bloodthirsty aura. This crushing pressure. It is a top zone hound. Death is staring at me. As the scythe swings, Sungha strikes from the shadows, but he is too fast. Her blade misses. We are tangled together, plummeting into the dark abyss below. I am doomed. Following her was my biggest mistake. We are all falling. Suddenly, a paraglider unfurls. She actually came prepared for a leap of faith. We are heading back, she screams. What about the chef? Why change plans? He caught my scent. The village. They are all in grave danger now. We are going to crash. Trust me, she yells. I have heard that before. That was a disaster. I said I would land, not land well, damn it. We race back, but the silence is deafening. We are one step too late. Boot prints everywhere. An entire division has raided our only sanctuary and home. The chief survived, but he is broken. Most of our people are gone, captured by the civil defense. He leads us to their camp of iron. Chemical soldiers everywhere. This is suicide. I am sorry. This is my fault. I do not know your secrets, boy, but we must save them first. Watch the left. Sungha, take the right. Wait for my signal to strike. But my mutation flares up. Agony rips through me and I collapse instantly. Sungha is seized. Then the truth hits. The chief sold us to the enemy. Good work, old man. He traded the flame woman to save himself. Forgive me, Sungha. It was the only way to protect our village's future. A leader's burden or a coward's choice. He sacrificed one for the many. Sungha surrenders, but begs for one last moment with the fallen main character. No, the chief growls. If that monster wakes, the entire village will burn. He looks at her one last time before drawing his blade with cold eyes. The rope snaps. I fall into the deep pit as Sungha's screams echo. The mission is done, but the soldiers laugh. Honor means nothing to wolves. They take everyone. The chief's desperate bargain crumbles into a total nightmare. You betrayed your own blood, they mock. Traitors deserve nothing but a cage. Demanding a promise from a total stranger? Ha! At least I kept my word and let you live. Be grateful. Who would waste such high-quality mutation subjects? Don't you already possess the power of the primal flame anyway? Why move a whole herd so far? I never said everyone was coming. The selection process begins right here. We'll test you here to find the ultimate survivors. The rest? Dead weight. Commence the experiment immediately, he roared. His henchmen moved in, but a piercing scream stopped them. Sungha had shattered her own restraints. Touch one hair on my villagers, and you'll only take back my cold corpse. You need me alive, right? Without me, your masters get nothing. It was true. She was a legendary prize for the elite high rankers. The big bosses care, but I'm just a low-level grunt, the captain sneered. Firepower means nothing to me. Reporting you dead is easier for me. Don't bluff, girl. I know exactly how this twisted game ends. Think I fear failing the mission? Believe what you want. But you'll be dead before I face judgment. Suddenly, a cold blade pressed against his mask. How about you die first instead? Sungha gasped in pure shock. How? How are you here? The one holding the captain hostage was the mysterious mummy man. I forgot to mention. I'm actually your biggest fan, Sung-ha. Wait, what? Even the civil defense troops were bowing to him. You think this little stunt lets you claim the Fire Queen for yourself? The captain spat in pure rage. One man against an army? Foolish. But the mummy man smirked. Who said I was alone in this fight? 4 soldiers ripped off their masks, forming an impenetrable wall around Sung-ha. They were elite GK operatives. The captain froze. The neutral GK syndicate? Why interfere now? In this hell, no one refuses his request. Thanks for the backup. Anything for you, handsome mummy. Heart-fluttering vibes in the middle of this bloody chaos. You think a handful of GK rats and one girl can escape this fortress? You're delusional, the captain roared. Just us? Look closer, Captain. How many of your own men do you think actually belong to GK now? Take off the masks and find out. Can you even win against the GK Mafia without your precious gas? Surrender Sung-ha now and we'll vanish. Your life is the only price for her freedom today. I'm dead either way. If I lose the Fire Queen, I'll choke this entire world with toxic death. But the mummy man just laughed. In your dreams, you think I'd let you win that easily? Mask, back. Make your choice. Time is running out, and the sun is dipping below the mountains. Once darkness falls, the GK shadows will slaughter you all and vanish. But then, the captain started grinning like a madman. If the sun sets, we all die together, because times are coming for us. Night swallowed the world instantly. The sun vanished behind the peaks, plunging the battlefield into total, suffocating darkness. The mummy man scoffed. Facing death and you still crave the girl? You won't dare kill me, your only shield against the gas. If I fall, this place becomes a toxic tomb. But what if no one is left to release it? A silver flash tore through the obsidian night. Shards of a gas mask flew through the air instantly. One by one, masks were pulverized in the dark. Terror gripped the chemical soldiers like a cold hand. They swung blindly, hitting nothing but air. The captain panicked. How? You should be as blind as us. Ever wonder why GK wears sunglasses in a pitch-black abyss? It wasn't for style, you complete idiot. These are custom GK optics. We see the spectral traces of your own toxic chemicals in the dark. Impossible. How could mere mafia thugs possess government-grade thermal tech? The captain's world was crumbling down. You didn't know? Our leader was the civil defense's top scientist. Too bad for you. Ag. My mask. Asterisk. Crack. Asterisk. The final mask was pulverized by the pink-haired Reaper. The battle was decided. Victory was finally ours. The captain collapsed in utter despair. He knew it, the civil defense had been annihilated by the GK syndicate. But victory was a fleeting dream. A shadow lunged. Pink Hair was brutally struck down from the darkness. It was him, the bloodthirsty hound of Tuzone. He ignored the fodder and charged straight for Sung-ha. GK members threw themselves into the meat grinder. Run! The mummy man dragged Sung-ha away fast. They slammed the heavy iron door shut, sealing themselves inside. Outside, the screams of GK warriors echoed. Then, a second hound emerged from the mist. The tide turned instantly. GK was being slaughtered like cattle. GK fell. Asterisk. Boom. Asterisk. The iron door buckled and shattered in a single blow. The true monster had arrived. The mummy gasped. This is my limit. Suddenly, a massive fist descended to crush him. Death loomed, but Jay was faster. His blade pierced the monster, bringing the beast down hard. Sung-ha stood frozen. Jay was alive? The companion she thought lost had returned from the grave. It was all thanks to her hair bundle. Carrying it had suppressed Jay's agony, keeping him fighting. Back in the fire temple, he'd kept that lock of hair now. It had miraculously saved his life. Suddenly, the hound snarled back to life. Jay reacted instantly, narrowly dodging a lethal, surprise strike. Jay countered with a heavy blow, but the enemy's arm had transformed into something truly terrifying. It was hard as solid rock. Jay's fists were useless. Awaken me now, he yelled to Sung-ha. But the poison will kill you, she cried. Suddenly, invisible restraints coiled tightly around Jay's body. It was the second hound's stretching limb. As he prepared the killing blow, a staff hit his head. The strike threw off his aim. The hound turned, eyes burning with rage at whoever dared interfere. It was the village chief. The monster brutally kicked the old man aside, but the distraction worked. Jay broke free. He leaped through the air, snatching the enemy's scythe for a desperate counterattack. But the other hound intercepted him, a crushing blow sending Jay spiraling into the dirt below. His arm had turned to stone. As he moved to crush Jae, Sungha desperately charged forward. Her attack failed. The beast swatted her away, preparing to grind her into the blood-stained earth. Jae lunged, blocking the stone fist. The sickening crack of his wrist bone echoed through the air. Despite the agonizing pain, Jae refused to yield. He would burn his very soul to save her. Suddenly, a dormant power awakened within. Even with a broken arm, he held the massive pressure back. With a roar, he shattered the stone hand. Jae launched a devastating counterpunch into the giant's gut. Seeing an opening, the mummy grabbed Sungha and retreated from the center of the carnage. The second hound swung his scythe to stop them, but Jae caught the blade bare-handed. He crushed the steel like paper. Why hunt the flame woman? Why not just capture her alive? The mafia thrives when her fire is gone, the hound hissed. Her light must be extinguished forever. The first chapter of this apocalypse ends here. Will Jae survive the coming shadow? Stay tuned. If you enjoyed this epic battle, give us a like. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.